Hey everybody, welcome. It is our week 3 West Des Moines Wombats Major League Rugby Challenge Pick'em show. Thank you for joining us along this journey. It's been pretty interesting so far. Pretty excited about tonight's episode here. But first off, just want to say hey to everybody. How we doing? DeAndre, coaching Urbandale High School boys. How you looking?
We're looking pretty good. Got a tough 2 games this week against Waverly Shell Rock. They've always been a pretty good team, coached by 2 pretty good players themselves. So hoping I don't get beat that bad, but I'm also hoping to win. But we shall see. But I'm pretty excited to start coaching again. I took a couple years off, back at it, and it's brought joy into my life again.
Good. It's good to see you coaching again, man. So at the alma mater, awesome. Marcus, went fishing last night. How'd that go for you?
Well, didn't catch what I expected, but I caught something. And last couple times I've been out there, I've been skunked. So I think I'm on the up and up, kind of like my picks this last week. Didn't do so hot, but now that I got one in the bag, I think things are going pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about myself this week.
Awesome. And you have the hashtag Believe in Benson movement moving on social media.
There's a lot of big followers cheering on me, so I got a lot of pressure to perform this week.
Speaking of things that are big, Phil, how's your ankle?
It's getting better, but I don't really want to talk about that right now.
Okay, we'll move on. Justin, you're coaching the Des Moines women's team. First match this Saturday. How the women looking?
They're looking good. We had a good turnout tonight. Went through lineouts and scrums for 7 scrums, and they're looking pretty good, looking pretty tough. Some of them are pretty nervous because it's their first game. So
it'll be good though. It's good for them to get out there, and I know UNI is ready to go too. So that'll be awesome too. Hopefully, maybe recruit some girls from UNI in the future and make a good connection there for sure. And lastly, Nico, you going to be repping this Friday night? No? You doing anything with rugby Friday night for high school?
Nope. Maybe I'll come watch you guys.
You don't have to lie. You'll be with Kim.
She'll come too. It's fine.
Oh.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah.
What time is that game at? Where is it going to be played at?
It's going to be 8:30 in the morning at the Mid-American Recplex.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. B, you're going to rep that, right?
I think so.
So you're
hopefully I'm in shape.
You're not going to go out Friday night?
Depends on if I go 2-0.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, good to see everybody. And then we also have our special guest of the week. We have John Cullen here. John, I put you down in our graphic as Johnny Utah. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Awesome. And so funny story about John, how this all worked out was we had our watch party set up at Pally's, and we get all the Wombats there. We're all messing around trying to get the TVs to work. See this tall guy walk in, girls wearing a Major League Rugby jersey, and we're kind of like, oh man, they must know something. Someone go talk to this guy. Like, think he knows anything about rugby? Should we recruit him? What? Someone go talk to him. And a few years later, we figure out, yeah, he's played a lot of rugby, a lot of big rugby, a lot of good rugby. So we're excited to have you on, John. So first of all, especially, rugby, club rugby is very kind of like localized, and you played a lot in the West Coast and in the Rocky Mountain area. So it's hard to see matches out on the West Coast, especially college level, and then as they get up to higher performance. So tell us a little bit who you are and kind of your story.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It was awesome meeting you guys. I mean, I'm pretty much on par with any time, like all rugby people are rugby people. Like if you run into a group of rugby players anywhere in the country at a bar, it's pretty much going to go the exact same way. Talk a lot of shit and have a lot of drinks and have a good time. But yeah, so I grew up in Southern California and started playing rugby in high school went on to play football actually first at the University of Utah. Gave it the old after college try at the league. Got reminded, hey, you're not that good at football, and then came back to Utah to finish up school and degree. And actually, I had known the coach at Utah pretty well, and then Threaten Palamo, when he did his switch over, we played together at the University of Utah. So when he was doing his transfer to play football, he's with DC now. He was an Eagle for a while, Sevens Eagle. I kind of like talked to him like, "Dude, I'm gonna go back to playing rugby." So just kind of started playing in college. Obviously, our coach was a former Eagle as well, so kind of got a pretty inside fast track to like an Eagles camp as like just a taller athletic dude. And then it took me 2 camps to make the team, to make a tour, get my first cap, and then moved up to Seattle, played with the Saracens for a few years, and then actually lived in Montana for a year and played with the Maggots, and then back to Utah and played with Park City Haggis, the club team, and then obviously the last 4 years with the Utah Warriors. So I have an intimate knowledge of like true U.S. club rugby, from the D1 to the D2 to the Montana leagues to Maggot Fest fucking debauchery to win an MLR championship. So it's like just the beauty of American rugby. Like those stories need to be told more. Like MLR stories are cool, but like the guys who have played like true club rugby are like a dying breed. So I'm trying to share a lot of those stories. Because I made a joke with my buddy. I was like, dude, there's going to come a day within like 4 years that almost every MLR player probably will never play club rugby in the U.S.
Man, that is sad, because there are so many great people, so many great stories, so many. What we've been talking about, it's so cool that, what other sport is the community where you walk into a bar and there's a guy who's played nationally, professionally. You can sit down, have a beer with them, and share similar stories, played against different similar opponents, and you don't see that in other sports where it's a common brother and sisterhood. And hearing about like the stories we've known a couple guys who went up to Maggot Fest, and just to hear what it's like. And you hear at Wayne State in Nebraska, and I know in college we'd go to Platteville in Wisconsin, tiny little P Vegas, right? And just the stories that come out of there, you never forget them. You don't really remember them, but you don't forget them either. And you share that together. So that's awesome. And also too, we have a lot of guys here who get into coaching at the youth level. So how did you first get into rugby? You said you played in high school. How did that first start for you?
So literally, no bullshit. I've told this guy a million times. I can thank my entire rugby career to Mike Campen, who was the dad of a dude on the freshman football team with me, who literally came up to me at the end of freshman football and was like, "Hey, John, you want to play rugby?" And I was like, "What the hell is rugby?" He's like, "Well, you just get to tackle people." And I was an offensive lineman in football my whole life. Like from 8 years old till graduating college, I was an offensive lineman. So talking an O lineman into running the ball and playing defense, I was like, cool, done. When do I start? And then, played with the Fullerton Youth Rugby Lions in Southern California. That's where I started. Thank you to Mike Campen for talking some gangly nerd-ass 14-year-old into playing rugby.
That is awesome. That sounds so similar to every single person's story of just, you look like you could do it. We'll see you practice, and that's it.
You look dumb enough to run into people. Let me show you this sport.
Yep.
So talking about, going into Major League Rugby, and, this little pick'em we do is really focused around Major League Rugby. How was that transition going from the club scene in D2 into Major League Rugby? What was that transition like for you?
Well, so mine is probably different from some if they would have taken a direct route. Obviously, like having already been capped, having played like with Seattle, we were playing at like probably above a D1 in that British Columbia Premier League. So like we didn't even play US teams until 7th season. So like I got to play against half these dudes on Seattle, but at the British Columbia Canadian level, and then having the prior international experience and things like that. The transition was like pretty fluid, pretty natural, obviously, right? Like even like high level MLR rugby isn't test match rugby. So I kind of was, looked at and supposed to be the guy of like when we had, especially the first 2 years, like a true blue, born and raised, like almost entire Utah team outside of a couple, like we always had Kurt Morath and Fetu Vinacola coming, like Tongan internationals and a couple internationals mixed in. But like the first 2 years, like it was Utah, BYU, and the absolute monsters of like the Polynesian rugby clubs in Utah. And yeah, kind of our big gap and the jump we didn't make right for the first couple of years was understanding that level that the MLR was. And it was just like, you could have moments of being the biggest, strongest dude on the team, but you weren't going to win a game. And that was kind of what we struggled with at Utah was like, oh, I could just take the ball on a forward little A ball or whatever, stiff arm one dude, run the next dude over, truck the fullback and score a 40-meter try. And it was like, yeah, you're not doing that in the MLR. Like if you have a half gap and you trusted your system and you're on a mismatch that you created through everything, like, yeah, you get a 6'5", 265-pound angry Tongan running at a 13, success is going to happen. But it wasn't just like, oh, I can run over everyone. And it's just kind of one of those things. But it's different for everyone. There's some people who weren't ready for the skill or the defensive structures. It's kind of a different transition for everyone depending on background.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to watch the last few years. Would you say, as we do this pick'em, it just seems like teams over the last couple of years, they change so much. They're so fluid in who comes in and just the level of play and guys moving from different clubs, and then the way teams are run and ownership, and then the rebranding of a couple teams and expansion. And that seems like that plays a big impact on it as well. What would you say is something that maybe MLR fans, or especially just an everyday sports fan who maybe doesn't watch rugby, what's something that they wouldn't know about the MLR that would be interesting, or something they should know?
Gosh,
that won't piss anybody off.
I probably piss people off all the time on my podcast, so I won't do it to your guys' thing. One thing people should know is like a lot of these dudes, especially these American players, like they're not balling out on these crazy contracts. Like there's no secret, like over half that team is probably making like 12 grand. So it's kind of a weird concept to people, and they're sharing, a 3-bedroom apartment with maybe 3 to 4 dudes. Like there's plenty of teams out there, and maybe I think this year they're taking big steps. They're like, bro, year 1, year 2, like dudes were sharing rooms and, making 10 grand to play rugby and getting like sandwiches as pregame meals. And like at the Warriors, we literally had like our postgame meal was salad and cold cuts with bread. Like, that's what we were feeding dudes after a professional rugby game. And like the first year, we weren't even allowed to drink. So we had cold sandwiches and no beer at our post match.
Oh, that's rough.
That's awful.
It was not this like glamorous uptick in like lifestyle or anything. Like it was still an absolute grind. Like I can only speak for Utah, right? But talking to a lot of buddies, pretty much 70% of most teams' rosters in the first 3 years were in this situation. But like you were still working a full-time job. Like we were talking at the bar, like my first couple of years, I was still working as an EMT. So I was up at 5, would hit at 12, from 6 to 6. I literally would eat a protein bar and chug like a Rockstar or a Bang or like Raw Dogs from pre-workout, get to the facility for 6:30 meetings, lift, practice, and we like, it was like a big thing. Like I would always create this big old problem. Like we were calling like 1, 2, 3 warriors at 10 o'clock. So like guys could get home and try to sleep. So like those dudes are out there grinding. And I know there's already enough respect and appreciation for them, but like I can say they're still not living this like glamorous pro rugby like baller lifestyle. Like those dudes are out there grinding to put that show on every weekend.
That's wild. Because when you hear the word pro, you just think like, oh man, they're set. And so, hats off to them. And hopefully, listening to some other podcasts with, what's his position? He's like in charge of everything. Killebrew? Is that?
George Killebrew?
Yeah, he was talking about like.
He's a commissioner of the league, yeah.
Yeah, they have all these new sponsorships coming in. So hopefully, like Geico.
He's killing it. I think he's about the best damn thing that's happened in the league so far. The next best thing is like the number one push that I'll probably have now is like a retired and former player is there needs to be like a players union. So like MLR doesn't have a players union. There's no one representing the players. So that's probably a big push that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Every time it's brought up with anyone with pull or deep pockets, like it's just shot down immediately. So, but that's a big thing that needs to happen. I mean, there's no one really that has the back of the player, like an entity,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
be like, no, we care about our guys. I was like, no, you don't.
Right, exactly. I mean,
and everything.
you got cold cuts and no beer the first year. I mean, that sends the message pretty loud. But no, it seems like they're doing pretty well. And hopefully with the rugby network, there's more eyeballs, more money. And, these guys are making those sacrifices. So hopefully down the road, more fans, more money. It's better quality of play and better quality of life for these guys. And,
I just like telling that, especially like club dudes, like club guys are on that same grind. I was like, hey man, you're 6 degrees of separation. Like they're doing the same shit. They just get cooler jerseys and TV cameras.
Exactly. So biggest question I have, last one about the MLR is, when are we going to get a team in the Midwest? Like you got Chicago, you got Minneapolis, you got Kansas City. I mean,
I've been saying that since year one. I've been shocked. Like year one, I was surprised. I was surprised year one even existed. Right? Like I came up in the club grind. Like you had to play for Nyack, Chicago, Seattle, or Omback. Those are like, or you weren't making the Eagles, or Glendale, right? You weren't making the Eagles. Regardless, I don't care if you were the biggest baller. If you didn't play for those teams, like you weren't an Eagle. End of story. So like, it's still crazy to me that there's pro rugby, but like, I don't know. I've heard all the rumblings and bickering and bitchings and money this, money that, backer here, something there. Like, I don't know. Because to me, yeah, it's crazy that between, especially Chicago and KC, right? Like established rugby areas. Like Minneapolis has the young bloods, and Detroit has the trades. But like those teams, like if you think of the Chicago Lions, like you're thinking of like old Super League, D1, like champion level player, and like the KC Blues are kind of a historically known club.
Yep.
And that's where all those first year teams developed out of, like was places where, besides California, which took an extra year, but like all these places with established, known, big name D1 clubs. And yeah, I remember it was like year 2. I was like, the Chicago thing's gonna happen. Not this year. Nope. Yeah. Another Texas team. Oh, the KC thing's gonna happen. Nope. Another California team.
Yep.
Honestly, man, like there's really no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just who in that city can write the check themselves, or what group can write the check. And then, as most people know, everyone in American rugby who's if you played before like 2010, like that from 1980 to 2010, you think you're the only person who knows what rugby is, and you think
Mhm.
you're the only brain that has good ideas. So to get those dudes to join together to cash checks together to own a team, I mean, good luck. Like,
Yeah.
some
Right.
Chicago old boy, he's got to join up with some other Chicago old boy that he doesn't like. He's like, no, that guy's an idiot. Back in '97, that dude knocked it on to the semifinal. He can't own a team. He fucking sucks. And you're like,
Sounds about that sounds right. Because I mean, and
that's why you
like
won't buy a team.
like they had the rugby weekend where in Soldier Field, man, I think a bunch of us went to those weekends where USA played the Maoris, and then there was I don't even remember who. Yeah, there was
Yeah, I was sitting on the bench for that game when we got our ass whooped, but it was cool to be there.
yeah we were all
When we
Benches
I was
too.
like, when Soldier Field erupted after we scored, after we kicked that penalty to go up 3-0, I was like, can you guys please shut up? Like, don't piss me off right now.
Sorry.
we were tailgating for like 2 days. the tailgate scene there was amazing, and then just being downtown or like down in the nightlife of Chicago with like rugby people from not just the Midwest but like from all over the world, like that was a blast. And so yeah, hopefully we see that. So I guess we have seen you in person before. We were kind of blacked out in the stands, but
Yeah, I wasn't doing shit. I was holding water.
so what is your all-time favorite rugby memory?
Oh man,
Just put you on the spot right there.
that's a tough. A couple things like pop in your head. Damn, I'm trying to think. We won the BC League in Seattle. That was pretty cool. And then, honestly, you know what? Honestly, it's playing with the Army, like by far. Like maybe my first start with the U.S. was cool. Like to run out there as a starter, like that's a pretty cool feeling. But like it was in freaking Gloucester, England against Tonga, like two non-home nations playing in a neutral site. So like wasn't kind of what you dreamed of as a test match, but like it was still pretty awesome to start in a test match.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably my first tournament with the Army Sevens team. Like every time you get to do that and meet other dudes and like especially like the true blue active duty guys, like, and it's their only 14 days of escape from active duty is to come play Army rugby. That one's really cool. So that one's pretty much the top. And like last year we had like our starting sevens team on the Army rugby team. We had 8 capped Eagles on the U.S. Army sevens team. So I was like, this is fucking stupid. So that's pretty cool because I played like there's two of them played in the MLR. We played against each other, so that's always like a really cool feeling. So yeah, that's definitely number one.
Nice.
Wow.
That's awesome. So post rugby now, what you talked a little bit about you're in Iowa now and you looking at the like union for players in MLR, but what's next for you? Getting into the podcasting game or what's happening?
Obviously I really enjoy it. It's fun. I mean, it's kind of, I always think it's fun and slightly narcissistic at the same time that you think anyone really gives a shit about your opinion that much. But like, I try to like at least bring a different perspective as a player and doing it on my own because I think now the Rugby Network has stuff with Ben and Peaches or Mike Petrie are doing their little show, but like I was like, dude, I don't want to be in a suit jacket with stupid graphics behind me, like sitting at a desk. Like I love those guys, don't get me wrong, that's just not my style. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it on my own, and like if people like it and you know it's kind of what they want to hear and a perspective they want to hear, I would love to do that. There's guys like the contact coach and the rugby coach guys on social media that do, I don't know what programs I use. Like I still am like self-teaching myself how to edit my own videos, but like steal some of this like screen capture the game film and then edit and do stuff on that, because like that's my dream. Would
Mhm.
be one to have the podcast just as like my analysis, shit talking outlet, just for fun. People want to hear a guy not in a suit and a polo on fucking rugby wrap up talking nonsense from the East Coast, and then to have like an ESPN detail level version of like lineouts and scrums, like 99, like even like most rugby players don't understand why that arm went the direction. Like you just see the scrum go down. Like if you're a prop and you're watching, you're like, okay, I saw that. But like mostly you just kind of see the scrum go down and you're like, why? And then maybe they show a replay of the elbow tuck or something and it kind of makes sense. But like most people have no idea what they're looking at when they're watching a lineout.
Yeah.
Like, why was that lineout then? Well, this dude false stepped on his footwork, which threw him off half a second, which made him rush his jump. The hooker rushed the throw, and it just looks like an overthrow, but there's 4 different situations that led to the overthrow. Or he jumped too early and the ball's at his chest and he gets smacked away. You're like, oh, that looked like a really bad throw. I was like, not really. He jumped too soon, so the ball died. And that would be my dream. Again, I'm a freaking multi-concussion knuckle dragger that doesn't know anything about video editing and screen cap. I'm like teaching myself this as I go. So eventually that's the goal. And I think people would like that, especially like rugby people and like people in coaching or people that really enjoy the detail. Like I can nerd out on lineouts and scrum. Like that was my bread and butter, like with the Eagles, with club, was calling lineouts, seeing lineouts. That shit made sense immediately. So I can nerd out on that stuff all day.
Nice. And it's
Hey,
kind of one of
Nico,
those
you can
things.
ask him about some lineouts.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's kind of one of those things too, where that's how like all those Barstool podcasts got big, because they went against the suits at ESPN. They're just like, I'm gonna shoot it to you straight, give you the real feel of what a fan or a player's perspective of like, this is how the shit goes down. That's what people want to hear. They want to hear what's actually happening, not the piece, the friendly version of it.
So Dan Power and me are we're pretty good friends, like phone call, text message basis, like, and I love Dan. I'm not like throwing him under the bus, but like he's handcuffed in what he can say, because one, I'm biased. I think Dan's the best announcer we have in rugby right now, but like he can't be on rugby wrap up in an MLR polo and be like, I don't know, who can I talk shit on? I was like, oh, Will McGee on this play looked like absolute dog shit, made the wrong read, and threw a shit pass. He has to be like, oh, well, Will here, probably could have done better. Or like, oh, San Diego's just kind of got to figure it out. Where I can be like, San Diego's culture is dog shit, and they're playing like individuals. So it's just like, but both of those voices are for different people. So,
Definitely. And that's why I feel like we're just doing this. We're just 6 random guys in Des Moines who know we play rugby, but we don't know it to the level you do. And we just we have to do these dumb challenges to hopefully get people to watch. And, we always just tell ourselves,
challenges are awesome.
Yeah, if nobody watches, we at least have each other to lean on to be like, we're doing this for ourselves. We don't care.
I mean, that's how I am, man. I think I hit 3 digits on views, which I was like, I thought that's amazing. Because the problem is with social media, right? Like if you look over the fence, like it is a depressing and overwhelming world. Like
yeah,
my whole inspiration came from like Pat McAfee, like the Pat McAfee show.
Yep.
I love what he does with his show and football, but I'm like, okay, one, I don't have an entire crew of my boys like running shit for me. And I don't have 13 million subscribers. So it's like social media and like the content game, like it is the most humbling, overwhelming shit. But I'm like, I had 100 people watch my show and like some people comment and give me feedback. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And it's just like, but if you look at someone like, oh man, I don't have 10,000 yet. I was like, well, they didn't have 10,000 people on week 2 either, unless they were already like
established,
famous before they started. I was like, no one has 10,000 people week 2 unless you're like Kylie Jenner or I don't know, some famous weirdo.
Yeah.
Hey,
No, you're-
John. I know a good social media guy you can hire.
Is there someone on this call?
Nope.
Yeah, it's Mr. Ryan Gray.
Yeah.
There we go.
He's
His
killing
official
it.
title.
Ryan, I have no capital and no money, and I can tell you.
Hired.
I'm used to it. I worked in public education, so I mean.
You said no jabs.
No. I don't think there's many crossover of public educators and what we're doing here, so I think we're good.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, that is pretty humbling. Our first video had 89 views, and we were like blown away. And we're like, yeah, this second video, let's try to hit 100. We got like 30. And we're like, oh, people probably just want to see what are these knuckleheads up to. Okay, yeah, that was it. But no, it's fun though. It's fun to just talk rugby,
Well, and I was worried because I didn't know what a view was. Like my wife told me the first video was like 450 views on Facebook or something. But I was like skeptical, right? Because like, okay, what does that mean? Like, are they scrolling and they had autoplay on and the video started? Like, is that a view? Or did I was like, I know for a fact 450 people did not sit their ass down for an hour and watch my ass talk. So I was like, what is a view? But I'm like, that was still really cool. Like, I don't care. 450 people saw my stupid face on the internet. Like, that's still kind of cool.
Definitely. Well, I've asked a bunch of questions. I'll open it up to the other guys. I've kind of hogged the whole interview portion here. You guys have some questions for John?
What would you tell high schoolers who's never played rugby and they think it's like a dangerous sport and like a hard-hitting sport? What would you say to them to be like, hey, still give it a try? Because I'm having that problem at Urbandale this year because I have a couple people come out and they think it's too dangerous and stuff.
Right. So I've had this question since I was 23 years old and I worked at Serevi when they were doing all those camps. So you can throw high school players and coaches into this because they're your biggest fucking just jabronis when it comes to their kids playing another sport, get them hurt. I'm like, they're 16 years old. They're going to get hurt doing all the dumb shit 16-year-olds do. But I always tell people, like, it's a contact sport. Injuries are an option. Injuries are an option in everything a high school athlete does. The only story I tell people, and I'll stand by this till the day I die, regardless of what your goal and your perspective is, I tell people I would not have played Division I football and gotten a scholarship and got my school paid for had I not played rugby. It made me a umpteenth to the 100th power better football player, which football then in turn made me a better rugby player than I ever would have been. I stand by, I never would have played a fucking millisecond of college rugby had I not, or college football on a scholarship had I not played rugby in high school growing up. Like, it was like, there's no way I could like poetically put into words how much of a positive influence it was, like, on my life, on my athletic career, like once you play 80 minutes of rugby and then you go play football, like, you're a different person. So that's one thing I always tell them, like, yeah, I mean, there's injury. Like, I got hurt. Like, I don't even lie to people. I was like, yeah, I hurt my shoulder playing rugby, which, I was 2 weeks late to, starting football because I was doing shoulder stuff. But guess what? When I was back, I was still a 10 times better football player, missing summer weights for 2 weeks. I was still a better football player for my season of rugby than, if I had to throw shot put or do PE or something, whatever the hell you do in the off season if you don't play other sports. But that's what I've always told people. And I know that's like a personal one. It's not a broad one, but like, I mean, yeah, you can't argue that there's other injuries, but if they went and play basketball, there's other, like, okay, dude goes up and plays basketball and like breaks his ankle. Why is that different because he had his high school jersey on and not a club rugby jersey. So I think it's just a weird perspective with coaches. You just kind of got to level with them. Like, this dude is going to come back a better player.
For sure.
Thank you.
If it's parents, shit, I don't know. Dude, they're not even like, again, like it's the same kind of group. Like, if they're not letting their kids play football or any contact sport, I mean, the perspective of the whole rugby tackling thing that's integrated into football, I think, is a good perspective for parents. I mean, I'm probably sitting at double-digit concussion, so I'm a horrible case study because I don't listen to what I coached about tackling. But that's a really good perspective because obviously you can look at all the college programs that have hired these rugby tackling experts. Kind of all the law, like if you can really sit down and talk with some parents. But yeah, man, that's my perspective. I became a way better player. I sucked at football until I played rugby.
Nice. That's getting clipped and sent to every high school coach and AD in Iowa, right there.
Dude, I stand on that for 100%. I would be 60,000. Well, I wouldn't. First of all, check that. I wouldn't be in debt at all because my dumbass wouldn't have went to college. But like, if I had I'd be $60,000 in debt for going to school without a scholarship. Like, if I hadn't played rugby, 100%.
Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Are you ready to move into the next part?
I'm sure we'll be able to ask more questions at a later date.
Yeah. Right. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, I'm going to share my screen here, and then we're going to jump in to the picks. All right. So again, this is the West Des Moines Wombats Major League Rugby Pick'em Challenge for 2021. We are on week 3. Again, no sponsor yet, but if you'd like to sponsor our show, your logo could go right here, and we'll promote you like crazy on social media. I mean, just as John, I think I tagged you in the last 3 days like 47 times, and I felt bad every time. I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to help out, get your podcast, all we did was have you on. I tell these guys all the time, do not put me in charge of the money because I give away way too much. Like, that's my bad. Like, I can sell it, but I give away way too much. So if you sponsor our stuff, I'll give you too much. So that's just a promise. All right.
Fuck.
This is never going to die.
Are those the tears from the challenge?
It is.
Yes.
So we have our own meme format. Phil made about 6 memes. We're going to drop them over the week. And if you want to... So if people at home want to just screenshot this or you want the actual image, we'll send it to you and make your own meme.
Yep. I'll even send you the app.
All right, so here we are, the Wheel of Death. Taking a look at it. John, we kind of talked to you about a few things. Anything on there that you look at, and I don't know if you can read it very well, anything, we got like the Ric Flair chops, an hour wall sit, the Adam Eckenecker burger fry challenge, an egg beard challenge, a beer mile, cinnamon challenge, hottest chip, nose hair waxing, all sorts of crazy stuff. Anything on there that just sounds terrible?
Hey, we'll sponsor. Hey, the shop will sponsor anyone on the nose hair wax.
Right, Matt.
Perfect.
All right. So we're still going to somehow shave Phil's beard. Will that be this week? You guys ready for this?
Ready.
I know.
Oh boy, I hope you boys like spicy.
Not again.
Is it spicy again?
Yes. Because that beer mile is going to get spicy.
Oh.
So the way this will work out, we'll start in Pally's patio. We'll chug a beer. You run a quarter of a mile, we'll figure it out. you chug another beer, quarter mile, chug a beer, quarter mile, chug a beer to end it. So you end up with 5 beers in 1 mile. Nico, what's your reaction there? You're making a face.
Oh, my gut's already pumping the beer back up.
Who gets to pick the beer?
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
I didn't think
The
of that.
winner.
I
The
mean,
winner.
anyone worth their salt could slam 5 Busch Lights, but double chocolate peanut butter porter is a different conversation.
Oh God.
We could do a flight.
That's
Yeah.
next level.
Oh my
do,
God.
We could do a flight of different stouts.
Oh my God.
I think it'd be more fun too. I don't think when you're running it, I don't think you should know the lineup of beers. They're just
Absolutely
given
not.
to you as, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
The winner gets to pick the beers.
Right. Well, yeah, but and then like you don't even know leading into
No,
it. I
John,
think
you're
as
gonna
you're
be the
running,
winner.
Yeah,
I
no
said,
shit.
I told Ryan, these picks are like 3. I've got like 17 different texts I need to send before I make my picks. So I got put on the spot today. This is all over.
Oh god.
All right, we'll move into. Oh,
Yep, still funny. Still
still
funny.
it's funny.
all right, and I forgot to put an asterisk here for Johnny Utah. This is a tentative. How did you
Lock
put
him
it
in.
earlier?
Lock him in.
I'm locked in. Listen, I'm locked in for the challenge, but I'm not locked in for when I post my actual picks.
Yeah,
All right.
so those will be 2 separate. Like this is locked in for this, but you're gonna have your own separate thing. So in case
I don't foresee
anybody
much
watches both.
changing, though. Honestly, I don't think much will change. The Atlanta one makes me nervous, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, this is we got a pretty interesting card here. There's a lot of people that agree, but then there's just a couple of matches that stand out. So we'll start off. So Phil, no pressure. No pressure. You're going to talk about Utah. Why is Utah going to win this matchup? Hopefully you did your homework.
Well, man, why did you have to put this on me when we have Johnny Utah here? You could have talked about this.
Because you were in first place and it was the
Just
first
pick this
match and I
one.
wrote it down.
Well, I don't have the inside scoop, so I'm not really 100% sure, but I like what I've seen out of Utah the past 2 weeks. They're putting up points. They're, maintaining ball possession. They do tend to seem to make a few mistakes near the end of the match that could be detrimental to their game against the Free Jacks, but I don't really know how to feel about the Free Jacks right now with their week 1 performance to their week 2 performance, because they made a substantial improvement and beat Houston fairly badly, which I did not expect. So I'm a little nervous into that game, but I feel pretty confident Utah will still pull out the win and go 3-0 for the season so far, just from everything that's been going on. They haven't let me down yet, so I'm going to keep riding that train. So,
Nico, you're the only one with the Free Jacks. Why? What do you know? Why is this happening?
Well, I kind of looked at, I don't know, I think that Utah might have been playing middle of the table, or they might be middle of the table, like playing the lower teams at this point. We'll kind of see a little bit more going into next week after this week. But Free Jacks have been playing pretty, what we assume to be top of the table teams, and playing pretty well. So I decided to go with my ex-teammate and former Fijian international, Api Nakatini, rooting for him. One of the most
Here we
skillful
go again.
played with.
I was sprinkling it in.
Here
Everybody
we go
take a
again.
drink.
It's like, oh, I played with this guy.
Played with this one in Wellington, so it means a little bit.
John, just so you know, we have a running joke. Nico knows so many people in Major League Rugby, and he reminds us all the time. And so it's really funny he wasn't at the bar when we met you. So
He probably already knows you.
yeah.
Probably knows you better than you know yourself.
You didn't know?
All right, moving on to the next match. We have Toronto at Old Glory. Marcus, you were so confident last week. How are we feeling about Old Glory?
I'm feeling good this week. Week 1 they had that tie, and I know nothing about Major League Rugby. Week 1 they had that tie with with Nola, and I almost saw that as like kind of a weakness. I thought, I didn't really watch the game that well, and I was like, I don't know. It's like kissing your sister. I don't really give them any props. But then they came out and played real well last week. And I think I was just reading somewhere online that they've got their starting fly half, that Jason Robertson's supposed to be coming back. I think they played a pretty good game. I feel like they're pretty well put together. They seem like they're pretty well balanced all around. I don't feel like, they don't have any big glaring weaknesses, don't make a bunch of big mistakes, have a lot of the possession overall. And then especially when I look at Toronto, I feel like they've just been kind of sloppy. Last week came out real slow. I didn't feel like they didn't do anything for the first half. They kind of had some signs there in the second half of kind of having something together, but they've kind of just been a little ugly the first few games. So especially after last week, I feel like I had to take Old Glory on this one.
Gotcha. And so we're gonna bring in the guy with the inside scoop, Johnny Utah. You're the only person with Toronto. What's the story there?
Honestly, it's being a slave to the past. So I know the Toronto that I know. Like the last Toronto team I played against set the record for most points scored in an MLR match. So it's hard. It's weird for me to see them playing this way. The only thing that made me kind of do this is knowing a lot of those dudes and their mentality. They do not it's not a losing team, right? They've never had a losing record or poor performance in MLR since they joined. So I think 2 weeks in a row of fucking getting smacked in the mouth, and then maybe Old Glory kind of riding high. Now, I will say this. I will asterisk this pick with a lack of confidence. If it is for sure that old J-Rob's coming back, when I make my pick on Friday, I'll probably switch this. No bullshit. If he's still out, I love Danny. Danny's a baller. He looked a little weird at 10. He's just such a stud. You can put him there, but it's not where he wants to be. That game immediately changed when they put the backup fly half in and moved Danny to 9. So it'll be interesting to see the lineups. And if Jason Robertson's playing, I'll probably switch this pick. I gotta own it for the challenge. I'm fully aware of that. But I can kind of see just something in my gut is telling me Toronto's not going to take kind of 2 ass whoopings in a row very well. And, they might be able to pull it out this week, especially with the 3 RGs being with the team for the full week. I could see that attack kind of jumping up and asking a few more questions. And Old Glory defense on the edges is a little suspect.
Gotcha. Nice. Then we move into San Diego at Atlanta. D, you've been riding Atlanta all year. Why are we still on that train?
Well, I'm 1-1 with Atlanta. Last week I didn't pick Atlanta and they won. And San Diego looked really sloppy against Austin. And I feel like if Atlanta could come out hot and keep up the pace it was playing last game, they could win this game. And I'm really hoping because I don't want to run a mile.
When's the last time you did cardio?
Today at practice.
Rugby practice doesn't count.
Coaching rugby practice doesn't count.
You?
All right. And then in the next game, we have Houston at Austin. So a Texas matchup. This is always a good matchup just because of the proximity. And it seems like a lot of those guys, they know each other and they're kind of keeping an eye on each other about who's doing what. Again, I like Houston. I like what they're doing down there. I like what they're building with their youth program. And again, got love for their coach, Paul Emmerich, who played at UNI, so it's hard to bet against them. And also Austin, too. I'm not happy with them because, man, I rewatched the end of that game. And them losing last week was the reason why I had to do the hot wings challenge, and I did not do well. And just watching, it's like, you know, they had an extra man, and they went 18 phases, and they could not break the line. And it was so frustrating to just watch that, and they just kind of fell apart late. And, you know, someone told me that they have lost the most games in the last 10 minutes, and so I'm not happy with them right now. And so that's why I'm going to go with Houston. I've gone with them the first 2 times, so I'm going to keep rolling with them. But Justin, you're going with Austin.
Yeah, more of a vote of confidence against the SaberCats because they burned me last week. But let's hope they figure out that last 10-minute thing. That's what I'm going to say.
So I'm not picking the SaberCats. You're not picking Austin. I'm picking against Austin, and you're picking against Houston. It's because we're mad at them for.
Yep. Burned me. I had to eat those terrible wings. Oh my gosh.
I feel like out of all of this, like these were the 2 best reasons why to pick. The thing is, one of us is going to be wrong, though.
Yep.
All right. So, John, with your experience and your knowledge and your insight, how are you feeling about this board? Who's looking good? How are you feeling now that you kind of see all this put together? Who do you think is going to come out on top this week?
So I guess I can like whoever's got the Utah, Old Glory, Atlanta, Austin one is who I'm worried about.
Don't say that. Don't
That's
say
like
that.
because I'm worried about myself. Because I'm right. Yeah, I'm screwed. But I do like you get like it's so stressful. It's really only going to come down to like 2 games.
Yep.
Or we could all be wrong. It's if Utah loses, half the board is going to be stressing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on a cloud.
And drinking beers.
If Utah loses to New England, I'll just do the damn mile on principle almost.
Hey, we got that recorded, so
But I'll be so salty. Oh my god. The Toronto DC one I can live with, especially like if I change my pick to DC later in the week. But dude, the Atlanta San Diego one makes me more nervous than almost any of them.
Oh yeah.
Because like it's one of those things like
That one's a tough one.
San Diego at any like if by tomorrow, what's today, Tuesday? So if by Wednesday's practice tomorrow they have a goddamn epiphany in some sort of like team huddle and they just figure out like, oh hey, by the way, we're better than everyone else, let's just play as a team. Like they're gonna go back to the San Diego of last year in a day. So they make me so nervous. Like whenever they figure their shit out, it's just gonna be like, damn it, here they come.
great.
Yeah, as people were sending me in their picks, I was thinking of the old San Diego, and I'm like, they're bound to come in. It's like Atlanta. I'm like, what am I missing here? Like that game for
with
me.
Atlanta, you know what you're gonna get. Like, I've known and heard all the things about Scott Lawrence for a long time. Like, and I playing against Atlanta, watching them this year. And everything, like, you know exactly what you're going to get with Atlanta every week. They may reach their, like, pinnacle, and they have, like, a low, but their low is not that bad. But you know exactly what you're going to get every time they play. San Diego is just like, oh, hey, we got it figured out. Here's 50 points. Or, hey, we barely beat Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got our ass kicked by New York. So it's like, who is this team?
Right. Yeah, it seems like the level of talent, I mean, is spread pretty well this year. Like there's so much parity. And that's what makes this so much fun is we do this and, you know, we don't have too much knowledge, but at the same time, you look at our records, we're all in there together, you know, anybody could win. I mean, it's a toss up. It just, who shows up, how was the week of practice, and see what's happening. So Phil, I just want to ask you, what's what stands out to you?
What'd you say? Sorry.
What pick stands out to you the most?
Also, can we say how shitty it is to have 4 games? Like, if you
Yeah.
get one wrong,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was telling Gray about that earlier. It's like shit, only 4 matches. That's not helpful.
We're all gonna be tied for second.
It's gonna be all of us again. Like
We're running a beer mile together. Oh well.
That'd be
I'm
the one to
winning
do
this
with
week.
everyone, though.
little team bonding for everybody. So we'll get those picks posted, sent out. So just wanted to say thank you again, John, for joining us. It's been a good time. We appreciate you kind of having an interview with us and sharing all that insight, because it's cool to hear these stories. And like I said, the fact that you have international capped players, professional players who are so accessible, I think that makes this sport so great. So just wanted to say thank you. Everybody who is watching this, go to his YouTube channel, The Worst Channel Ever. Watch his podcast, The Worst. We said in our last one, I don't think you've seen our stuff, because I think we could fight you for that. Because we're just a bunch of idiots who don't know what we're talking about, but people who don't know rugby think we know what we're talking about. So depending on these picks, we might take the name The Worst from you. But no, everybody go subscribe, check it out. He knows a lot more than us. And as you're doing some analysis for rugby, we can give you some practice. We'll send you some Wombats game film. You can break down all of Phil's lineouts. You can break down all of Nico's jumps. You could come out to a practice and show us how it's done. Whatever.
100%. You guys are the T-shirt next week. I left it, or my wife left it in my daughter's diaper bag after I dropped her off at daycare on Monday. So I had a full audible. But it will be the West Des Moines Wombats for next week's T-shirt shout out episode.
All right.
And yeah, hopefully in I don't know, give me 3-4-ish weeks. I'll probably be out for some old fat slow dude touch.
Hell yeah.
Perfect. That's the speed we run. So it's awesome. And then Phil, you want to talk about the watch parties moving forward?
Yeah, so I think we'll keep continuing to do that on Sundays more than likely. But this week, as of right now, we don't have a watch party unless Easter is this weekend, and a lot of people are going to be spending time with families and stuff. So no watch party this week, but we will be having basically every weekend going forward after this week.
Yep. And try to stick to Sunday, just because we're going to start seeing more club rugby on Saturdays. So we'll try to do like a Sunday afternoon, evening. We don't want to be too late. Nico has to go to bed early. That's why we missed you last time. Sorry, 7:30 was so late. But Nico, what do we got tonight? It's now Wednesday. It just passed. It's 12:01 a.m.
We got practice tonight. Let's go.
Yeah, so let's get everybody at practice tonight. April 10th, first game against Cedar Rapids, first official game for the Wombats. And DeAndre, we were getting some text messages today from Cedar Rapids. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Cedar Rapids, great club. They've been to a couple D2 championships. It should be a fun time. I'm excited to take all the boys there to get some playing time. Show some of the new guys the love I have for the game. Hopefully they have love for the game as well. And we just got new jerseys, Hopefully we can have them by the Bremer game. We kind of waited a little bit to buy jerseys, but hey, they're coming.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah. All right. And then Justin, Marcus, anything else we forgot?
Nope. Ready to see everyone tonight.
Yeah.
Oh,
ready to see everyone tonight. And also, if you have cans sitting around, you need to get rid of them. We'll take them. We'll get the money and donate and sew it back into the club and grow in the game.
Fantastic. Keeping that price point low for all of our players. try to raise money that way. So give us your empties. We'll take them back for you. And then lastly, John, we haven't figured out, since we're new to this too, we don't know how to end our shows. We have no music. We have no catchphrase other than I just say to the guest, you get the last word. Send us off one final thought, and we're all going to throw the Wombat W up. Will you just say something cool?
Oh my, that is horribly putting someone on the spot. Oh my God.
It was on the run sheet.
Come on, I already set my phone up so I can do the W.
I'm out here serving alcoholics at bars. I couldn't look at the run sheet. Oh God. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for having me on. You guys are awesome. Fucking more people need to know, like, local club rugby is the lifeblood of rugby in the United States of America. That's where everyone's good stories come from. Outside of college, there's nothing better than club rugby. Bunch of gross, grown-ass men riding on a 12-passenger bus together with 23 dudes trying to get to a game, rolling up 45 minutes before kickoff, putting your boots on, and playing some goddamn rugby.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Awesome.
yeah, brother.
Brilliant.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. And we will see everybody at practice. John, we'll see you on Monday for our post-game review. And, hey, maybe we'll be running together on Monday with this beer mile.
Hell yeah.
All right, we'll see you, everybody.
Throw the W.